The Zone Coverage Podcast Network.
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
Hell yeah, let's get Stinko.
Welcome, Giles and the Goalie Podcast. I am your host, Giles Farrell. Over there is Ben Remington.
Hello.
We are bringing this to you midweek, as our schedules have once again not properly aligned to get it out on the weekend, and then work kind of got in the way the last couple of days, so we are doing a little midweek special during the Wild Dallas game. So if we yell or swear or whatever during the game, then that's why. So yeah, it's been a week. I don't know about you. Then we've got the corporate wingdings and at work this week, so we are getting the peasant treatment, begging for scraps of their lunch.
Yeah. That's not the worst part at all, because we're getting free lunch at the end of the day, so I really can't complain.
That's true.
The turkey burgers today, not so great. The tacos yesterday were fantastic.
Yeah, they were.
I thought. But the worst part is walking all the way across the building to use the smaller bathroom.
Right.
Because the typical office bathroom is being occupied by a bunch of suits. And yeah, that raises some issues for some folks, you know.
They don't want the suits to smell our stink.
Wow. Yeah, if you want to be that out there with it, I guess. I actually used the regular bathroom today because, as you know, I went over to the peasant bathroom, and it was occupied for a little bit of time, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use the regular bathroom that's like 40 feet from my office. And so I did.
See if anyone says anything.
I was not convicted or put into stocks or anything like that.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you weren't. But, yeah. So this is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast. We don't... I don't know, it's kind of a dull news week in Minnesota Wildville. The only kind of couple of noteworthy things that have happened, Devan Dubnyk left the game last Tuesday. He took a spill in the game that we were at against Edmonton, and he has been out for the last week, but he is back on the bench at least, against Dallas on Tuesday evening. And looks like he's going to get the start on Wednesday against, I forget who they're playing. Not important.
Right.
I should know that. But anyway, he will probably get to start Wednesday. And kind of a frightening tumble, because you didn't exactly know what exactly he hurt. Whether it was his rear end, his tailbone, his back, his head. He just kind of went straight onto his back and, shook up, and we didn't really know. And so they just kind of kept that seemingly under wraps, unless I missed what the injury prognosis was. But he's back now, and Al Stalock took the entirety of the starts in that time. Vezina, as we like to dub on Twitter. Capo Kakinen was called up, but was never actually used. Are you against that strategy where they have Kakinen up here for a decent amount of time and they don't use him, or are you like, yeah, let's see what Al can give you?
Well, I mean, I think they had to call him up first off, just to have a backup. I would have liked to seen him play selfishly, just so you can see him. But I totally understand them not using him because, this team is still in win now mode. As much as we want to kick and scream about that. And Kaapo Kähkönen, got off to a great start in Iowa last year, really kind of tailed off kind of hard at the end of last year. Didn't have a phenomenal AHL season. I think he's splitting time, if not taking a bit of a backseat to one Matt Robson this year in Iowa. So I think, he's probably not your best bet to win. As weird as that sounds, Alex Stalock is your more known commodity. So I totally understand why Bruce would go with Stalock for the entirety, even though, I would have liked to have seen Kähkönen just to see him. I mean, just to kind of get a feel for what kind of player he is. We've seen clips of him. I have not seen him play in Iowa, but just to kind of see what he looks like in an NHL game, and if there's something there, even if it is maybe just a backup down the line.
Yeah, I think Kähkönen had like a 887 save percentage in Iowa this year. Nothing spectacular.
Yeah, that's not good.
But, goalies are a weird entity into themselves, so you never really know what you're going to get out of them until you actually see them play in the NHL. So I'm with you. I would like to see him get the nod, but Bruce, as we've mentioned time and time again already this season, is in the last year of his contract, and he is trying to win to get another one. So he's going to go with the NHL veteran Stalock, and basically Kähkönen is not going to play until Stalock has no remaining limbs.
Right. Yeah, and maybe if Dubnyk's absence would have been extended, obviously we would have seen Kähkönen. If Dubnyk missed 3 weeks, or more, you definitely would have seen a start out of him. But Dubnyk only missing a week, come on, he's not going to get into those 2-3 games. It was only 2 games, so it was Thursday and Saturday, and that was it. So, I mean, it is what it is. Again, selfishly would have liked to see him, but I totally get it. So. I'm fine with it. And Alex Stalock, to his credit, has played fairly well, and we'd like to see that continue. And who knows? I mean, there could be as much as it would be egg in our face, there could be a goalie controversy in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's enough egg in the state to cover our face at that point, because
right.
We have been really shown up so far this year. Before Tuesday night's game against Dallas, Alex Stalock in 6 games with a .928 save percentage and a .198 goals against average.
Yeah.
2-2 record on the season for those who care about the wins.
Mm-hmm.
But that is your Stalock stat, and that's only going. Those numbers are only going down here through the first period as the Wild are up 2-0. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we're at with Al. And I would love to see Al just prove us wrong. His track record has been not great in the NHL, and we've called that out many of times on this podcast. And to see him do well and show us up, I'm not going to complain, because there's nothing you and I really enjoy less than bad goaltending. So
right. And it could just be that Stalock is that goalie that needs reps. There's some goalies like that where, let's face it, Alex Stalock has not been very good in a backup goaltender role. But that's with him starting, 2-3 games a month, tops. So, maybe it's just the fact that Stalock is finally getting some stretch here as a starter. He would have played, 5 out of the last 6 games, including tonight. And it can be as simple as that. It can be as simple as, getting some regular pucks on you and getting into a groove a little bit. And maybe that's what Stalock needed to sharpen his game up a little bit. It still remains to be seen. It's very early in the season, and nobody's actually calling for any kind of Alex Stalock, Vezina candidacy or anything. But maybe that's just what the possibility is. We'll see. Devan Dubnyk certainly not doing himself any favors, and certainly not earning himself any playing time with his play right now. Once he comes back from injury, we'll see.
Right. And, my other noted thing that I have here is I touched on this briefly in my column Tuesday on Zone Coverage, that the Wild's 5 key young players that we identified coming into the season, Donato, Eriksson, Fiala, Greenway, and Cunnin, they have a combined 13 points on the season in 11 games, which is
not great.
Not getting it done. And Fiala returned from the injury list Tuesday, but he was put in the press box next to the James Shepard Memorial Popcorn Machine. And him and Ryan Donato kind of seemingly fit for that healthy scratch / fourth line duty as we roll from October to November, which I don't know if you saw this today, but I spent literally up until 4:45 this afternoon thinking it was the last day of October, and it's October 30th.
It's October 29th today, Giles. Yeah, usually there's this day at the end of October that's
God.
really obvious.
It's not. Oh, I don't even have the right day. So I spent 75% of my day thinking it was the last day of October. And then after it was corrected to me, I spent the remaining part of the day thinking it was again the wrong date.
Yeah.
Boy.
Oh, wow, the Stars have yanked Ben Bishop.
I need to go to bed. I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I think when the last day of October arrives, I think you'll know. There's kind of a dead giveaway.
Yeah, but I have to go to work and be an adult. I can't put on a costume.
Well, yeah, I know, but usually a lady or two around her office will put on a pair of cat ears or something.
There.
That's kind of a classic move, right?
I can't.
Nobody works in full. Oh, I shouldn't have ruined this. I should have made you show up in full costume.
Well, I mean, I had a costume, but I can't reprise my role of Mike Ditka that I
told you should have kept the
put
mustache.
on over the weekend.
I don't know why on earth you wouldn't keep the mustache.
I didn't like it, and more importantly, the missus didn't like the mustache. So
that's a perfect reason to keep it. What are you talking about?
I don't need to start off a marriage on the wrong foot.
You're not getting married for months.
Well, still, she remembers.
People don't forget.
Yeah, they don't. She doesn't forget.
Yeah, fair.
That's a summary of my day. But yeah, check out my column on Zone Coverage about, basically it outlines what Bill Guerin's path to retooling the Wild is going to be, or it has to be, because he doesn't really have many other options available to him, which is through the draft. Spoiler alert.
Right.
So check that out. So these guys have not done anything in so far this season, and we're kind of getting into the territory where it's more of a thing. It's not just a small sample size. You can't say, it's only so many games. We're now getting into the range where this is a trend. This is maybe what the season's going to be like. And you can't necessarily say these guys are not getting top minutes, which they're not, but that again returns to the problem. Bruce Boudreau is coaching to win. He's not going to toss these guys in on top minutes. Maybe if he had another year on his contract, he might give it a shot. But
even then, I think with this team and just the age of this team and kind of what he wants to do. I don't think he'd be playing for the future just yet. And right now as we watch this game, if they continue to win, up 2-0 right now as we watch, and that's winning 4 out of 5 games. And so it really kind of lends credence to not packing it in and trying for one of those, yet again, one of those so satisfying playoff appearances.
Well, so this was our other kind of pointed topic is, what do you think the season will end up being as opposed to what you want to see? That's kind of a key question that we have here coming out of October, because we've seen a little bit of good from the Wild, and then we've seen a little bit of bad. And when I say a little bit of bad, I mean a lot of bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 4 to 5 games is certainly nothing to sneeze at, but I think, for me, just to start off, I think what the season ends up looking like is something like last season. I just don't have a ton of faith in the goaltending of the Wild right now. I think if Dubnyk, could have shown a little something coming out of the gate, and maybe there's still something in there. He's been known to have cold months and hot months, and maybe this just happens to be a cold month. But last season basically turned entirely cold after the first month for him. So I don't have a lot of faith in him bouncing back like I used to have faith in. And like I said, as great as Alex Stalock is doing, having given kind of starter responsibilities right now, I even if that continues somehow, which I doubt, I don't have a lot of faith in him being good enough to carry this team long term. Like, he certainly is responding well to the assignment, but I just don't have a lot of faith in that keeping up. So I think they missed the playoffs. I know I was a little more positive just before the season started, but now just kind of seeing, reading the tea leaves now, seeing how those young players are playing, seeing how the goaltending is going, I think they missed the playoffs and not particularly closely. But they're still going to go for it. So they're still going to be kind of, as much as we hated, kind of middle of the pack, middle of the non-playoff pack. They're going to be right around that, 10th pick kind of range that we that have so much distaste for, and rightfully so. Where I would like to see them be, I mean, I'm all for them just trying to rebuild at this point. Like, it doesn't make a ton of sense to really kind of, shoot all your shots and go for playoff appearances with this team as currently constructed. So, I'm not saying they have to pull off a full-off tank, because that's really tough to pull off with this roster, but if they can get somewhere, near the top 5 and kind of just take their chances with the lottery, I would much prefer seeing that. Even though it would be kind of hard to live through as far as watching this team get throttled each and every night. I would probably, in the long run, we're better off that way.
So another underlying problem I forgot to bring up, I just remembered it now, was Zach Parise has quietly gone under the hit list radar. In 11 games, he has just 3 goals this season, no assists, and not overly great from what you want to see out of him. And I think, if I remember right, 2 of those goals came like in the first 3 or 4 games.
I believe one was an empty netter as well.
I'm just looking it up. Yeah, he had 2 in the first 5 games, and then he had 1 in the win against Montreal. Doesn't say empty net or not, but it has been not good, particularly at even strength, and that's not an encouraging sign for a player who's 35 years old.
Right.
So if he doesn't start to at least pick up the production a little bit, I'm not asking for a lot, but just a little bit. That wouldn't be too bad. But as for the question, what do I think the Wild will do this season compared to what I want? Yeah, I mean, I think we all can agree that the Wild would be better off getting a top 5 draft pick at least. Maybe hit on this top 5 draft pick this time. Don't waste it away like Benoit Pouliot. But do they get there? There is a clear path to getting there. I mean, if Alex Stalock's going to get more starts, then he could easily regress to the mean, and that will spell some losses. Devan Dubnyk, if he can't pick up his game, that's definitely going to lead to more losses because the Wild are only as good as their goaltending has been forever. That's been their motto for 20 years. Goaltending go as we go. It's never been any other way. And then you factor in all these players who aren't scoring, and you are going to have a team that really can't score and really can't keep the puck out of the net because their goaltending is bad. They have good defense, that's for sure. And their defense also leads the way offensively. Coming into the game, Brad Hunt still leads the Wild in points.
It's so terrible.
So
your third line defenseman, granted he's a power play specialist, but third line defenseman leads the team in points. What the F?
I think what'll happen is the Wild will be bad, but they will not be egregiously bad. They'll have a few good spurts that pick them up just enough to keep them out of the top 5 in draft lottery odds. So they'll end up at like 6th or 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think will happen.
That's even better than I thought. I predicted 10. So, oof. But to your point about goaltending, I mean, this team definitely goes as goaltending goes. That can be said for every hockey team. I mean, when was the last time there was a, air quotes, good team with a poor goaltending? Like, it takes such an incredible amount of talent up front, forwards and defense, to cover up bad goaltending. I mean, I think of Boudreau's Capitals. That era probably didn't have great goaltending.
Sharks last year.
Yeah, Sharks last year. I mean, it takes – and ultimately it spelled doom for all of those teams. You're never going to see a Stanley Cup championship. I mean, or it's very rare to see a Stanley Cup championship team with poor goaltending. And so it's a lot to overcome. And the Wild definitely don't have the horses to overcome, subpar seasons from any combination of Dubnyk and Stalock.
And yeah, the goaltending thing just is absolutely crucial, especially in the playoffs, as you mentioned. And Jordan Binnington can attest to that because he was amazing last year and not good this year. So,
right.
It seems like there's just enough talent there for the Wild to keep them out of drafting high up, which is what a decent amount of the fan base wants. And it's weird to think that that's what we're talking about at the end of October, but that's really the state of this team is at, because coming into this game, they're 4-7. Their worst start in team history through 11 games was they were 3-8 in I think it was the 2009-10 season. So they were just a game off of that pace, which, if I remember right, I think that team was the worst record in team history. I could be wrong. It might still be the inaugural team. But anyway, that's not here nor there. So yeah. All right, we're going to fire into the mailbag because we don't really have much else to go on at this juncture.
We probably owe an apology to Eric Stahl.
Yeah. Or maybe he can send us a thank you card because
that's even better.
Now 7 points in 5 games since I
think it's 8.
Yeah, 8 points since we blasted him last week.
Yeah. Yep. So we look pretty dumb.
I mean, he didn't he have 2 goals in that game against Edmonton, or just the 1 goal?
Oh no, he had 2 goals. He had 2 goals and an assist.
He had to make sure to put right in front of us.
Yeah, I can understand if you don't remember the exact details.
Well, I mean, the guy said, make sure you finish all the beer, or it's going to go to waste.
So I was so very proud of your effort.
Your tweet was top notch. You will never have a finer tweet. You might as well retire.
I did peak there. It doesn't get any better than that.
But, all right, on to the Giles and the Goalie podcast. Mailbag via our Twitter at GATG Wild Podcast. Quick reminder for those listening via iTunes, if you could please leave us a rating, that would be so kind. Also, if you would like to support this otherwise fine production, check out zonecoverage.com/subscribe. Use the promo code GATG20 to get 20% off, or otherwise known as $5 to a year's subscription to Zone Coverage, which again helps this show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, first question in the mailbag is from Jonathan Oliver. He asks, with how streaky our scores are, you hope that they accumulate as many points in the coming days, weeks as possible. That being said, when Kaprizov gets here, who can we say is one of our best playmaking forwards? Granlund was that guy, and he's gone. The rest are grinders. Thoughts?
I unfortunately am starting to worry about Kaprizov ever getting here, just based on the construction and quality of this team. I certainly don't have anything to base that off of. He hasn't. Obviously, there's been nothing public. But would you want to come play for this team right now? I don't know. But anyway, to answer the question, I think Matt Zuccarello is probably that guy. He's probably the best playmaker on the team right now. Jason Zucker is kind of an underrated playmaker. He can pass pretty well, and he does have some good vision with that. But I'm going to go with Zuccarello. I think that's a guy that you definitely is one of the better setup guys on the team right now, even though he's had a limited history with the team.
I disagree, sir. I think that the team being bad gives Kaprizov a straight shot, not only into the top 6, but into the top line. So he will get premium minutes to make sure that he develops properly in this league, which is a huge problem with this team that never gives young players the ice time that they need to properly develop, as referenced time and time again by countless players. Anyway,
I mean, if Garrett can sell him based on that, then hell yeah. I mean, that's obviously the sales pitch that Bill Garrett needs to give. But I'm just saying, don't be completely shocked. That's all I'm saying.
But I will be.
Okay.
Yeah, as for the best playmaker on the team, that is tough because Granlund was supposed to be the guy that was going to feed Kaprizov passes, but as Jonathan said, he's gone now. Traded for game breaker Kevin Fiala, who's bringing those fine game breaking skills into the press box.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd probably say Zuccarello just because he has a really good body of work in this league of making great plays, and he also had a great pass off the half wall tonight to feed Stahl for the first goal. So
yes,
I'd say Kaprizov probably gets put on a line with Zuccarello to start, and probably Stahl. So probably see Zuccarello, Stahl, Kaprizov on a line to start next year, assuming Kaprizov comes over, which I'm 99% certain he will be. So, I mean, if he wants to go to a good team, that's fine. But one, the Wild are not obliged to get him to a good team.
Oh, sure.
And two, he would be down the pecking order on a good team. So do you want to be on a good team and not play a lot while making the same salary as you would by playing a lot on a not so great team? That's the question.
I think that might be one of the bigger things is the money. And certainly, I think the Wild probably want to give him whatever he wants. But, with Koivu coming off the books, that helps. But otherwise, the Wild are still, yet again, going to be a little tight to the cap. So that is worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah. I thought I saw a rumor that Mikhail Grigorenko was possibly considering coming back, and the Wild were maybe interested for Kaprizov, but I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's also a rumor, so I don't know if I really buy that.
Fake news.
Right. That's what we cry these days. Next question is from Michael Brennan. Could Fiala be better if he wasn't constantly swapping line mates or playing with old, slow players? Well, I mean, right now he's just playing with an empty chair next to him in the press box. So, again, I think this boils down to Bruce Boudreau coaching to win. I mean, he has to juggle the line to try and win these games. He can't tinker with the lines and experiment. He doesn't have that luxury anymore. And maybe this is a side effect of that is Donato and Fiala et al. Are not getting the proper time and line mates that they need to develop properly.
Well, I think the bigger issue with the Wild overall is that the talent's not there. Like, okay, so Fiala's not getting good line mates to play with. Well, who is there for him to get? Like, Eric Stahl has certainly turned a season around, so he's your number one center. You're just assuming that they have to stick Kevin Fiala with him just to make Fiala look better. Like, if Fiala isn't playing well independently, it doesn't make any sense to waste a wing besides Stahl on a player that isn't playing well. And then if you're not going to have him with Stahl, well, you either got him with the old slow Koivu, you've got him with Eriksson Ek, who doesn't really produce a ton, or you've got him in the fourth line. So it's like, what do you want? What more can they give Kevin Fiala than a chance to play with whoever? And I think that goes for all these young guys. Like, either start producing or don't complain that you're not on a good enough line because, you don't have any leg to stand on there. Like, there just isn't enough talent to go around to make sure that everybody has a good line mate. You know what I mean? Like, you can't spread the wealth out with this Wild team that much because there isn't that much wealth to spread. If nobody is scoring, like if those five young guys aren't producing at all, then, there isn't anyone else in the lineup to put with someone to make a quote unquote good line, or a better line mate.
I do buy into the notion that, players can elevate their game when they're surrounded by great players, but
absolutely,
it comes back to what you just said. The Wild don't have that great of a talent pool to begin with, so that plays a huge part in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, next question is from NH. They ask, am I wrong for not caring about the game ops as much as others? I kind of feel like people are complaining about it just to complain because they're sick of complaining about other things with the team. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a little something there that, we probably make too much of a deal about game ops, but I do also believe the fact that now you are paying a hefty price to get your foot into the door of an NHL hockey game, and you see game ops in Vegas. You see game ops in Nashville. You see game ops in these Canadian cities. It is part of the ticket buying experience now. It's just not entirely on the ice product. And winning will seemingly cover that up, which the Wild did for 6 years in a row. They went to the playoffs. They had playoff caliber teams, and when you win, that kind of makes up for it. So now all of a sudden the Wild are not so great, and now people that go to the games, they pay more attention to the game ops. And when you have a subpar game ops, that really comes into the light now. And honestly, I did not notice a change in game ops when we were there on Tuesday. I don't know about you. Maybe outside of the flashing strobe lights that made me concerned for your child who was looking out at the scoreboard. But probably not good for me who had a history of seizures as a 4-year-old.
Right. Yeah, did the Wild tout better game ops? I think I heard something to that effect. Did they say this year was going to be better as far as like the game ops experience?
Yeah, they were supposed to have a little bit of an overhaul on game ops. And I did not notice anything that was different.
No, and like you said, they have a lot more intense music and flashing lights during the intro to the game. And that was literally it. And that does not make for any kind of improved game experience, I don't think. So, yeah, I mean, game ops have always sucked for the Wild. Like, I've always been critical of their in-game experience. You know, I mean, I'm more upset about their constant pandering to the crowd that isn't necessary. But, you know, their game ops has never really been all that great. And, yeah, people are going to notice it more when you have a crappy product on the ice because there's a crappy product on the ice and you're not giving them any more reason to be there and you're still charging the same price as ever, if not higher. So, yeah, the people absolutely have a reason to be upset, and people absolutely, it's understandable that they're noticing it more because the team isn't as good.
Yeah, so really all offseason we heard, though, that was the Wild going to put more of an emphasis on game ops, and really we just got more flashy lights before the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're still playing hair metal way too much. They're still, you know, doing the same corny contests that they've always done, which whatever, every team does that. I'm not saying that they need to get rid of those completely. It's all the same. It's all the exact same. Like what changed? They're still playing the same damn generic goal song. Like nothing changed about the game ops.
Right. Let's see. Next question from Spooky Horse in a Suit. What are you all doing to protect your sanity this season? Well, I am trying to take more of an active interest in our backup team, the beloved Golden Knights. But it's hard because they play at 9 p.m. every night, and I like to go to bed at a reasonable hour.
Tell me about it.
Also, something that's, kind of key is something that's happened over the life of this podcast is I'm not really a fan of this team anymore. They're just a team that I write and podcast about. It's like I cover this team. I'm not attached to them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as, it kind of sucks to say that out loud, I've absolutely been that way for a couple of seasons now. And I think, like you said, it's a slow thing. And I feel like last year was a big turning point. Not that it was the, the first non-playoff season or whatever, but I felt like for both of us last year, we really kind of became detached from the Wild from an emotional standpoint. And to the point where, like, yeah, I don't cheer when they score. I'm not excited about it. And I stopped covering the team as far as writing goes. So I just do this now. And I still do enjoy watching hockey games. And I still have a vested interest in the Wild just because I watch so many of the games and we do this podcast. So I do want to be knowledgeable on the topic. But, I mean, really, emotional detachment is the only way that I think either one of us has survived. I think if you're very, very wrapped up in this team emotionally, I think that's a really tough place to be in. And I think, for the folks who are in that spot, my heart really goes out to you because, this is not something that's going to be fun to go through over the next couple of seasons for sure, because it's going to take a while to fix this hockey team. Even if Bill Guerin is the best GM in NHL history, which obviously remains to be seen, it's still going to be a while. So, there really isn't much you can do, unfortunately. And you really kind of have to just enjoy watching a hockey game. And sometimes it comes down to that. Just enjoy the sport of hockey.
They broke us. They literally broke us. They broke
really
us to the point of we no longer feel emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a very big contributing factor to me not writing anymore. Obviously having a child on the way and wanting to make time for my family was very important, and that was reason number one. But reason number two was the team. Reason number two was absolutely the fact that I was just tired of writing about this team, because I was writing the same stuff year in and year out. And credit to you and the folks who have continued writing about this team, and folks like Michael Russo, who's been doing it forever. It's just tough to continue covering this team, because it's just that whole broken record, watching Batman Forever over and over again thing.
Right. Next question from Ghoul Erickson Eck. You know him better as Oh Hi Tony on Twitter. What would it have to take for you to consider moving the best player with the best contract on the roster? It hurts too much to say his name in this context, but you know who it is.
Yeah. Is he talking about Marcus Foligno?
Right. Selke candidate Marcus Foligno.
Yeah, that one's tough. I think that I just don't think you move Dumba. And as young as he is, it really doesn't make a ton of sense to, I think anybody, around the age of 25 or less, I think you just hang on to it and just kind of hope for a quick turnaround with this team. So, it would really have to be an offer that would, blow your mind.
It has to be a bona fide number one center.
Yeah.
That would be the only reason I would consider it.
Or a wing that, absolutely scores in absurd bunches. I think either way, that's the only thing that would even make any sense whatsoever.
All right. Would you do Brock Besser for Matt Dumba?
I don't think Besser's to that point yet.
Okay.
I'm talking elite wings, because I think Dumba is that good at defense. I think he's going to produce that much, and being a right-handed defender, he's just inherently more valuable because of that. But I'm literally talking about your top end guys. You're you have to be blown away by and it would never happen, but like a David Pastrnak type, type player.
All right. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. So, last question to close out the mailbag and this otherwise fine podcast is from Brian Hoffman, who wants to know, why is Jamie Benn such a douche?
There's something about Dallas, I think, that maybe turns people a little bit. I don't know. Corey Perry.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Dallas that just makes people's blood boil around these parts. Can't put my finger on it.
It just, Jamie Benn. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind him as much. I certainly understand why people may or may not like him, but I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. I wish I had something witty and fun, but I'm sorry, I don't. Do you?
No, I can't think of what it exactly was that Ben tweeted a while back about, I don't know, some dirty thing that he tweeted. I can't remember exactly. So I don't want to butcher the joke, but then again, I don't want to say it wrong. So I can't. He is what he is. Get used to it. There's just players on every team in the division that you seemingly don't like. So that's just how it is when you play division matchups 5-6 times a year. There will be players that you don't like.
I don't think of Jamie Benn like the same vein that I think of like Gabriel Landeskog,
right?
Or Tom Wilson,
right? Like there's just like that next level, like
I don't think Jamie Benn's up there.
Noted goons in Wild history. Like I think of Landeskog, Cody McLeod.
Oh God.
I'm just listing off Colorado Avalanche. Weird. There was Todd Bertuzzi way back in the day.
Oh yeah.
He's still probably the number one goon against the Wild ever.
I'm sure.
But, yeah, there's just always those types of players, and for Jamie Benn, he just happens to have really good skill to go along with his sometimes dirty plays.
Right.
So
I don't think that he's I wouldn't think of him as even in the conversation for public enemy number one for the Wild even right now.
Ooh, I can't think of his name. He did play for Dallas just like not last year, but like the year before for like 3-4 years. Antoine Roussel.
Oh,
that's another
God.
top goon in Wild history. That guy.
He was. Remember that playoff series? Man,
he was a bigger douche than Jamie Benn ever was.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget about Jamie Benn, current Dallas star, current teammate of Jamie Benn, Corey Perry.
Yeah.
I don't know that he hasn't been a Wild antagonist to the point of this talk, but I think everyone can agree that Corey Perry's a douche.
And never forget noted Duck Brad May just slamming poor Kim Janssen to the ice in that playoff series.
Well, the Wild got revenge on the Ducks by giving them Clayton Stoner, so.
I mean, Clayton Stoner just left in free agency. The Wild just let him go, and Anaheim just massively overpaid him.
Yes, that was very funny.
Which is funny.
Yes.
All right, that's our mailbag. That can do it for us. Thank you, everyone, for pitching in. Your questions are greatly appreciated. And again, follow this otherwise fine podcast on Twitter at GATG Wild Podcast. iTunes, if you listen to us on there, drop us a rating. We are also on SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. However you consume your podcasts, we are most likely there. Ben is on Twitter at Ben Remington. I'm on Twitter at Giles Farrell. And zonecoverage.com is where this podcast is also at. That is where you can find the written content that I put out. And again, zonecoverage.com/subscribe, promo code GATG20 if you are so inclined. So that can do it for us, and we will chat with you again next week.
Later.
It's not resiliency. You're making it sound like we're good. That's all. I'm done.